Check, check. Test, test. Check.
Good evening. Come to order. This is a regular meeting of the Moreland Independent School District being held May 15, 2023, beginning at 5 p.m. in the middle school library, 678 Success Drive. A live stream and recording of the meeting will be available for viewing on the district YouTube channel. The subject to be discussed or considered upon which any formal action may be taken or listed below. Items do not be taken in the same order as shown on this meeting notice. Unless removed from the consent agenda, items identified within the consent agenda will be acted on at one time. Roll call. Board Manager Terry. Present. Board Manager Elders. Present. And Board Manager Johnson. All three board members are present. We do have a quorum. Please stand for the pledge and remain standing for a moment of silence. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. Any public comments?
There were none posted.
Thank you, Ed. Next on the agenda is recognition. Lone Star Governor Student of the Month, Lone Star Governor Teacher of the Month, 2022-2023, SERC Honor Roll honorees.
Good evening, Board President Johnson, member of the board. Our Student of the Month comes from Marlin Elementary School, Delaysden Lang, 5th grade student. Delaysden is a standout student at Marlin Elementary School, playing roles in both student council and the Honor Society, and he is a current member of the Sounds of Thunder drumline. Delaysden enjoys math, riding his bike, and playing sports, including football, basketball, soccer, and track. His favorite part of school is being recognized for performing at a mastery level on his tests and assignments. Delaysden hopes to go to college on a football scholarship and then to go play pro in the NFL. Our Lone Star Student of the Month, Delaysden Lang. Delaysden Lang. Our Lone Star Governance Teacher of the Month, my friend LaTanya Johnson, 1st grade teacher. Ms. Johnson is one of 7 siblings from Waco, Texas. She graduated from Paul Quinn College in 1983, and she has been in education for 30 years. Prior to Marlin ISD, LaTanya taught elementary age students in Waco ISD for 26 years. She is currently a 1st grade teacher at Marlin Elementary School, focused on the growth and achievement of her students. The journey from Mrs. Johnson's initial step into education to now has been a special one for her, as she enjoys working with and growing youth, especially in the Marlin community. Mrs. Johnson always stresses the motto, do your best, to her students. Please welcome again Lone Star Governance Teacher of the Month, Miss LaTanya Johnson. So this month, we received notice from SERC, which is Safe Employee Recognition Campaign. They recognized one of our own for this year's Safe Employee Recognition Campaign for the 2022-2023 Honor Roll Award. This employee was recognized for the campaign and chosen for her diligence in being safe and doing all things in terms of safety to avoid injury for herself and those in our district. She is a Marlin native. She has a husband with adult children, and she has been on Marlin ISD staff for 3 years. Please join me in congratulating our 22-23 Honor Roll awardee, Angie Mason. I will accept this award on Angie's behalf, and she has received several goodies from the CERT campaign, including some gear from them and this nice, gorgeous certificate. Thank you.
Congratulations to all our winners, and keep up the good work. Next on the agenda is going into closed session at 9:06, 5:06, excuse me. Approved to Texas Government Code, Section 551.074, deliberation of personnel matters to include the recommendation to hire and/or the reassignment of chief academic officer, executive director of technology, executive director of human resources, director of federal and state program, director of human resources, academic facilitators, Marlin Elementary School principal, academic principal, and dean of students. We're in closed session. 38. Next on the agenda is superintendent report.
Good evening, Board President Johnson, members of the board. Board President, I'm going to ask for an adjustment to the agenda to postpone 9A Bond 2022 update and to move on to 9B Lone Star Governance Goal Progress Measures 2.1 and 2.2 by Mrs. Nikki Edwards.
Good evening, Board President Johnson, members of the board, Dr. Henson. The measure of a society is how we treat our most vulnerable and how we prioritize the well-being of our children. The way that we prioritize the well-being of our children is ensuring that they are reading on a grade level so that their options for them to have a productive and flourishing life is abundant. So key strategic measure is that our pre-kindergarten students will be reading on track by the end of pre-K, will increase to 80% by May 2025. We measure this by circle and we measure it 3 times during the year. With our goal of 55%, we have exceeded, by far exceeded it on our circle progress monitoring. Our students on our end of year scored at 90% of our pre-K students were reading at grade level as measured by this test. As you can see, we started off strong. We took a slight dip in the middle as things got a little more challenging, but we brought it back up to speed. So kudos to the elementary team, and I want to give a special shout out to Ms. Rhonda Milton, who is the administrator over early childhood literacy. Right now, how will we continue with this trajectory? We will begin the year with professional development, again in alignment with Jennifer Foster and with our Amplify curriculum. We'll continue explicit phonics instruction, walkthroughs to ensure that we are giving those teachers feedback on their explicit phonics instruction, focused action plans, and we will continue our end-of-year parent-home connections. In alignment with this goal of 80% by May of 2025, we also focus on our first grade students reading by the end of this grade level. We did have gains. We were stagnant from our BOY to our MOY, and thankfully we had gains in our EOY. While we are not on track completely, we are slightly off track. We're at 46%, which is trends about the same that we were last year. We were at this time last year, we were at 43%. So we're about 9 percentage points from our goal. Our priority is very high with this, especially with it being the second year that first grade has come in with their EOY screener not meeting the expectancy. So again, we will continue with our professional development, but this will be more tailored specifically, to the needs of those teachers. We'll continue with our explicit phonics instruction and walkthroughs, again, very tailored to what is going on with those specific teachers and that teacher team. Focused action plans, and we will still continue our parent-home connections. Are there any questions?
Do you feel like it's a certain concept that's catching them, or is it the whole test in general?
I think that that group of teachers just needs more tailored and specific instruction. They are veteran teachers in first grade. We did have a new teacher at that time. However, teachers being a little more malleable to the professional development when they have been seasoned in a certain way is what is going to be the focus. And so we did see a cultural shift happen about middle of the year, and that's why you do see an increase in data, and I'm expecting it to continue to trend in that way. Okay. Absolutely, thank you. All right. One of the most important factors in a child's literacy acquisition is the skill set and the tools of their teacher. And so we do specifically look at our walkthrough data as there are specific actions that are expected to be taken by those teachers so that students will be able to read at an early level. In going through, we collect that weekly, and I'm happy to say that 100% of our teachers, when they were observed, were on target meeting those explicit phonics instructions. That includes things like rhyming, using movement with words, being able to rapidly say their letters and their letter sounds, amongst a few things. And so we did exceed this goal. We'll continue with the professional development of teachers geared specifically towards the phonics instruction at BOI, and we will continue to provide feedback and action steps to our teachers. Are there any questions?
Board President Johnson, members of the board, I would like to give credit and accolades to Mrs. Jefferson and Mrs. Milton for their leadership, but also to our early childhood teachers who have really owned the work over the past 2 years for early childhood literacy. We made it a focus in the district based off our strategic plan. We had to make sure that when children come to us, we prepare them with a trampoline and let them bounce up to success instead of always trying to pull them up. So I definitely want to thank Ms. Jefferson, Ms. Milton for their leadership, but probably most importantly, our classroom teachers who have been champions of this work.
Thank you, Dr. Henson. Life is an echo. What you send out, you get back. What you reap, you sow. What you give, you get. And what you see in others, you see in yourself. In alignment with so of course we're focused on early literacy, but then we focus on middle math to ensure that our students are algebra ready by the time that they go to 9th grade. And so our focus is that 80% of our students will be proficient by May 2025. We begin focusing on our 4th and our 5th grade math students. We use our iReady to screen their performance, and they were already exceeding the goal at the MOY and continue with that trajectory and have continued to exceed the goal with 4th grade at 64% of our students at the proficient level and 72% of our 5th graders. So again, to echo Dr. Henson's sentiments, kudos to those teachers and the leadership on the elementary campus for continuing in this fashion. We'll continue to support with our aligned lesson plan delivery and resource supplementation. Eureka is phenomenal. However, the concentrated work of the leadership team in making sure that all gaps were filled and if there were any areas of opportunity, that they were met to increase that performance. There's also, we're going to add a layer of differentiation for our high performers. Continuing with that, we focus on our 6th, 7th, and 8th grade students also being mathematically proficient by May of 2025. We had gains across the board at the middle school level as well. If you see our MOY, we were not at the mark that we should have been at, but we pulled through, and 6th grade and 7th grade did phenomenally. I'm very proud of them. And they did exceed the 55% goal. If you look at 8th grade, we started at the 13th percentile. And so while we did not quite hit that 55%, we are breathing on it at 50%. And so we didn't put blue for this because we did have one grade level, but we did say that we are on target because we are on target, and we will continue to focus on those students. We know exactly who they are. And so when those 8th graders enter into 9th grade next year, we can start the support much sooner.
Board President Johnson, members of the board, once again, I think that this is just a testament to our students. I have said time and time again, they are capable. All we have to do is instruct them and keep the main thing the main thing. Seeing where our students had started this year and knowing that in 6th grade, in 7th grade, they surpassed the annual target, and 8th grade is there. So it's a level of teaching, a level of student participation and engagement that is not going unnoticed, and we see the results. So thank you, Ms. Edwards, as ED of Academics and 7th grade math teacher, Dr. Parker as COO and 6th grade math teacher, and because I have the microphone, the highest grade level up there is 6th grade.
The highest growth is 7th grade.
The highest achievement is 6th grade math. Dr. Parker and I teach 6th grade math.
In alignment with, I know Mr. Bustamante is telling me to come get you, Dr. Henson, but it's okay. You can have this one, Doc. In alignment with the phenomenal work that's going on with the teachers, I do want to shout out the middle school leadership as well. Nothing could happen instructionally if the culture was not sound. And so while Ms. Washington and her team did see that there were areas of opportunity, she stepped in. She ensured that reading was being taken care of so that 100% of the focus could be on math. She dealt with me and my shenanigans when I would pull students at any given time or just totally interrupt her master's schedule. And so I just do want to thank her for, for acquiescing to some of my foolishness. Thank you, Ms. Washington. Again, we will continue to support with lesson plan internalization. I have become a fan of Carnegie. I was not a fan at first, but it is a phenomenal curriculum. And so us continuing to dive deeper with that and making sure that all of our teachers know how to maneuver through it. And then we're also going to focus on active student participation through consistent checks for understanding. Our students were really good at working through the book. However, that's an area of opportunity for us to continue to actively monitor their engagement throughout. Are there any questions? Serena Williams said that there may be times that she doesn't feel like training, but there's never times that she feels like losing. And in that same vein, there are times that as teachers, we may not feel like lesson planning, but there's never a time that we feel like being unprepared or failing our students. Key strategic measure 3.1 focuses on lesson plans being in alignment. And so we've exceeded our goal from the beginning, the middle, and the end of year. We did take a slight dip, but still not below our goal to 81%. So this was as teachers were adjusting lesson plans based off of their data and not completely staying on pace with our scope and sequence. But I always want to be an executive director that focuses on flexibility and that we are able to make moves in accordance to what our data is showing us. And Dr. Henson called me out. How could we have had 82% in the beginning and now you have 81%? Mathematically, that's not sound. If you remember when we started, we did have math and math lab teachers, and when we saw the data was not working for that, we cut that out to teachers teaching 100% of the time, so there was a fluctuation. We'll continue to work on teachers being adept at adjusting lesson plans based on data, and the academics team will work more in tandem with them so we can adjust our pacing and so teachers aren't off of pacing because they need to adjust. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Board President Johnson, members of the board, as stated by Mrs. Edwards, I definitely would like to thank all campus leadership and all teachers for the phenomenal results that we have seen tonight. We are hopeful that this is going to be in direct alignment with our STAR scores, knowing that STAR is only one measure of student achievement, but in our other measures that we've taken, our students have shown to be successful on nationally normed tests. Board President Johnson, I would like to adjust the agenda to have the BOM 2022 update by Mr. Bustamante go next.
Good evening, Board President Johnson, members of the board, Dr. Henson. District leadership team continues to have meaningful conversations with all of our stakeholders and vendors just to ensure a successful project delivery for all of our BOM 2022 projects. Our next bond advisory committee will be tonight following our board meeting. We will start that meeting promptly at 6:30. Few updates for Legion Field. Construction kicked off on May the 3rd. Crews were able to remove the entire topsoil, and crews will begin now cutting the subgrade to elevation. A couple of updates on the timeline. The estimated completion date for this project is August 30th. Unfortunately, we will have to move the Itasca game. That game will now be played away district was provided the opportunity to upgrade the quality of turf that we were receiving. So instead of getting a B-level turf, now we're getting an A-level turf, as long as we were able to extend the deadline for the completion of the project. So upgrade our turf, we give up one home game, but in the long run, our kids will definitely have an elite turf to be playing on. Updates for the demolition project, we received bids May 5th. We had to reject those bids due to the cost and being out of our budget. We have reposted that advertisement and we'll be receiving bids for that project. The use of Legion Field will now be closed. I announced that at our last board meeting, but the company cemetery is installing a 24-hour, 7 days a week surveillance just to ensure safety at the construction site. So something to think about. It is a construction zone. I know that some of our community members still want to walk out in that area, but we're trying to keep everybody safe. So they did install a camera to make sure that everybody's safe and we're good to go on that project. Some pictures of the project. All the perimeter fence was removed around Legion Field. As you can see from these pictures here, they started removing that top level of soil that I mentioned in my previous slide. And then here, I wanted to put these pictures on here because this was last week and during the weekend when all of the rain came. So unfortunately, the company did lose a few days due to the heavy rainfall, but we still anticipate to meet our deadline for this project to be completed. A little bit about the turf inspiration, what we got for selecting the turf for our new Legion Field. We're definitely excited about this. I know Dr. Henson is excited about definitely the inspiration. As you'll see, the two schools that are on there are very familiar to Dr. Henson. So we can click on, and that's mine and Mr. Johnson's team, right, Mr. Johnson? Cowboys? So this is where we got our inspiration for designing our turf. As you can see, the Cowboys are here, very traditional, all green turf, and then a big perimeter box around the entire field. Just gives it definitely a traditional look, very clean. Keep going at them. And then this field right here, UT Austin has I can't really say it, the alternating panels here. And instead of the white perimeter, we have two horseshoes at the end of the end zone. So the end of the end zone is outlined in Texas orange. For us, it would be our Marlin purple, but definitely it's still a clean feel to that design. And then University of Cal, this one has the entire blue perimeter with the gold end zones is something that we're considering as well, using our Marlin Gold as an option for that field as well. Last option, alternating panels. As you can see, the turf is not completely the same color. The panels alternate, and then the red horseshoe around the end zones. And this is the dark turf, so no alternating panels, a little bit darker turf, and then still the horseshoe around the end zones that promote the school colors and the logo in the middle. But definitely this is a very nice field, dark turf with the red horseshoe around. Purple. I'm gonna show the purple horseshoe right now. So how would these fields look here in Marlin? So this is the option where we have the purple horseshoe, the white sideline in the middle, and then promoting the purple on each end zone. This is the option with the gold. So definitely brings a little bit a unique twist to our field, but definitely promoting our gold with the purple horseshoes around the end zone, the white sideline. And then our last traditional option is very similar to what the Cowboys had in that picture, where it's just the white perimeter around the entire field with the purple end zone on each side. Are there any questions?
Board President Johnson, members of the board, are there any preferences? So the first one, so the one with the purple horseshoe, okay, okay,
This one?
okay, so this one,
Mr. Johnson, which one?
is there a certain field, Mr. Johnson, in which you prefer out of our three options? We have,
One.
that's the purple end zone with kind of the purple border and the white border. Then you have bringing out the gold end zone, purple letters, purple and white border. So that's one thing that tonight we are going to discuss in terms of, do we go alternating panels or a darker green? And this is going to be a decision that's going to be heavily influenced by the committee.
Oh, you like the all dark look?
Mr. Johnson, Mrs. Terry?
That committee.
That committee?
They're doing good.
Mr. Terry?
Just wants a new turf.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Adam, you're gonna put on the slide?
As we look forward to the future of the Maryland Independent School District, we have now reached a time of transition and coming together. Currently, right now, at 602 Donahue, that's the Marlin ES campus, and it houses students in grades pre-K through 5 with 477 students enrolled. Here at Marlin Middle School, we have 208 students in grades 6 through 8, and at 1400 Cap Street, Marlin High School, we serve grades 9 through 12. We have 236 students. The plan for next year is to have students in grades pre-K through 6 be at the current Marlin ES campus, 602 Donahue. So the 5th graders will freeze in place and just rise up to the 6th grade. 7th through 12th grade, 386 students will be on this campus at 678 Success Drive. Life skills will also move, so all life skills for the high school and elementary school will move to Marlin Elementary, as well as some offices for central office. Here at 678, it will be 7th through 12th grade. Our Learning Center and JDAEP central office and both gymnasiums, we are going to close 1400 Cap Street, except for our gymnasiums up to the use permitted by our contractor. The rationale for this change in transition is, in speaking with our construction partners, it may be possible to begin construction during next school year opposed to next summer. An email went out to all employees that kind of just answered questions last week. We have ordered boxes for all high school employees to label as we move their belongings over here to the middle school or to the elementary school. In working with Mrs. Edwards and the principals, we're going to notify all employees of their teaching assignment and room number by Wednesday. Keep in mind with this committee, with this transition plan, it was done by the action of a committee. First and foremost, we're to look at safety and security as it relates to the number of students and, of course, the various fire codes. We want to maximize all space. We have asked for everyone to be flexible, knowing that this is going to be a temporary transition. I personally did not want to have portable buildings on our campuses, and luckily, these two facilities can house all students and employees here in the district. but we also listened to stakeholder feedback from our town hall, as well as various information that we received throughout the various weeks. And we felt like it was best to utilize both of our facilities, temporarily closing 1400 Cap Street's Marlin High School. This will be the future of Marlin. Are there any questions? Next, we will have the proposed and posted District of Innovation Plan by Mrs. Nikki Edwards.
Good evening again, Board President Johnson, members of the board, and Dr. Henson. Details matter, and it's worth taking the time to get it right. So we've gone through this process, and at this point, we are at this fourth box down here where we have drafted a plan, and it is posted on our Marlin ISD website. It must be posted online for 30 calendar days, at which point we will send it over to the commissioner, and the committee will hold a public meeting, and you will hopefully pass it for us and so we can move forward with our DOI. We've done quite a bit since January. So in this month alone, we updated and provided the board, we provided the board with an update. Input was provided from our committees and our departments. We had a planning session number 3, and the proposed plan was posted on the website. What's up and coming in June is that the advisory committee will hold a public meeting, and there will be a vote afterwards, and then the local innovation plan will be presented to the board for your approval. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Moving on to the consent agenda, we'll have Dr. Stacy Parker with the financial report for April.
All right. Good evening, Board President Johnson, members of the board. School fiscal responsibility is the cornerstone of a thriving education system where the seeds of knowledge and opportunities are nurtured. Our fiscal management ensures the provision of high-quality education that empowers students for a successful future. For our financial report for the month of April, we start with our general fund. As you see to the boxed percentages to your right, we have received a little over 86% of our revenue. We have continued to highlight instruction, and of course our operations were the two areas that we have the highest focus, educating our students and keeping the lights on and the water running. We are at total expenditures for the month of April for $761,743. As we begin to close out the year, you will notice that the net change in our fund balance is narrowing, but we are still in the actual year-to-date to the good in our fund balance. For our food service, for the month of April, we have received approximately 85% of our revenue. The state revenue is the match fund for our food program, and so our accountant is keeping an eye on the monies coming in to see how many more distributions we should have to get as close to our budgeted as possible. So with that, for the month of April, with the expenditures and revenue, we are to the good, and the goal is to, of course, balance out to the good by the end of this fiscal year. Looking at our interest in sinking, again, still little activity there as we have not begun to make payments on our debt yet. We just got the funds, but we do still receive some residuals from the past, and so that just notes what we've received for the month of April, as well as any processing fees that have gone out as it relates to our bond services. In our construction account, you will see for the month of April, notice this is our construction accounts, of course, across our accounts, our local bank as well as our pool accounts, and you'll see the local revenue in reflects the interest earned from the bond construction account funds, and you'll see 1,600 small expenditures that we've made in April. As Mr. Bustamante has stated, we have begun with our construction, so those amounts, of course, will naturally begin to increase as the project timeline move forward. Just to give you an overall look of our investments report, as I indicated, you will see our local maintenance, where we do have a portion of those funds in a tax pool as well. We've earned $11,992.63 in interest on that account. Looking at our construction account, again, you will see here once again the $126,619 earned. And then again, of course, our bank accounts that we have with Cadence Bank, showing you our ending balances and our funds that we have, cash on hand. In your board package, you will see the complete report for the April check register, but here are just an example and snippet of some of those checks that have gone out for the month of April. Are there any questions? Through the collection of taxes, we fund essential public services such as our education, infrastructure, and healthcare. Each year, we enter into an interlocal agreement with the County Tax Assessor Collector's Office to collect taxes for our district. The interlocal agreement just highlights some of the key responsibilities of the local assessor collector's office, such as the calculation of the taxes, preparation of the roll, distributing our funds. Some of the agreement highlights is that we do pay a small fee for this service, and so for our fiscal year for July 1, 2023 through June 30, 2024, it will be a cost of $8,825 annually, which is a slight decrease from last year. It is a formula that they use, and it's based off of a percent of with this formula. Are there any questions? A school district must have a depository bank in which TEA can deposit funds in the district. As a result, we must create a depository relationship with a local bank. We're asking the board to approve tonight the resolution extending the depository contract that we have with our local bank, which is Cadence Bank. Each district must renew this every 2 years, and 2023 to 2025 is our next cycle. Some provisions is that we can go out for 3 extensions, 3 two-year extensions before we have to call for a request for qualifications and do a whole bid process for the bank. This is Marlin's second 2-year extension request, so we do have 1 additional request in 2025 before we have to consider going for a bid process for a local bank. Are there any questions? Yes, ma'am, we did write that in the plan. If that plan is approved, it will prevent us from having to bid, since we are small and there's really one main bank of, no competition. High school, college, and career pathways are transformative bridges that guide students toward their aspirations. They open doors, expand horizons, and shape the future leaders and innovators of our society. Marlin ISD competitively applied for a School Action Fund grant through TEA to develop a new pathway in partnership with 2 of our Falls County district, Rosebud Lot and Chilton. We were awarded that grant, and as a result, we had to seek out some technical assistance with the grant. So the School Action Fund calls for rural collaborative planning amongst rural districts to develop those pathways. I just highlighted some of the pathways that we already have in our district that are great, such as our ag program, our transportation, cosmetology. I did highlight the collaborative that we are currently entering in with Rosebud Light and Chilton for robotics, and you'll hear more about that in board meetings to come. The technical assistance scope of work, just they support our overall planning as we begin to think through what a new pathway or a second pathway would be that Marlin ISD will host. So this is technically just a thinking, reflecting and planning goal-setting year for that, and the grant is just for planning. So we won't be starting a pathway this year. We will participate with the Rural Collaborative Pathway while Marlin ISD hosts and plan for a second one in the future. The request for qualification process timeline, we did post on our website on April 17th for technical assistance. We did review those proposals and open those on May 5th, as well as with our committee made the selection of between the vendors that submitted their proposals, and we are presenting the awardee to the board tonight for consent. And we did award that to Career Craft, who also is a company that has experience working with the rural collaboratives, and so we're very excited about that. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Next, we will have the 2023-2024 stipend schedule by Mr. Jesse Bustamante.
Board President Johnson, members of the board, Dr. Henson, Marlin ISD offers a comprehensive compensation plan that's evaluated annually during the budget process. I will be presenting to you the 2023-2024 stipend schedule updates. In your board packet, you do have the final version of the stipend schedule if approved tonight. First thing I'd like to point out, for auditing purposes, we're including all of the retention and recruitment stipends to the stipend schedule. So the information that you're seeing right now was previously presented at one of our board meetings, but just to highlight early commitment bonus, our perfect attendance, our hard to staff, and then our commute assistance. We are adding all of those to our stipend schedule just to ensure clarity when the audit does arrive. Also, some information that was previously presented, the wellness supplement, and then the academic stipends are already on our stipend schedule. Additionally, we included the additional days school year ADSE project manager. That's number 6 here on the presentation, and the Texas COVID Learning Acceleration Support T-Class Data Fellow, and that's number 7 here on this slide. These 2 stipends will support the additional days in our school year program. These stipends will help ensure that our employees are compensated for their efforts and provided those extended learning opportunities during the summer. These positions will be responsible for a set of initiatives and targeted support to meet the needs of our students. This is what it will look like in your board packet. The highlighted areas in green are the new additions that we're bringing before the board for approval tonight. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Next, we will have the 2023-2024 TEACS certification by Mrs. Nikki Edwards.
Good evening, Board President Johnson, members of the board, Dr. Henson. While Orange is the New Black is a very popular show on Netflix that I actually personally love, it's nothing that I would ever want to do in real life. Orange does not look good on me. So to stay out of TEA jail every year, we must certify that the materials we present in front of our students is as it should be. One thing is that we certify annually. The students have access to instructional materials that cover all of the Texas essential knowledge and skills. We also certify that we protect our students against obscene or harmful content in any way. And that is available for you, and once approved, we'll sign off on that and I will send it into TEA. If they request any of our programming, of any of our curricular resources or supplemental resources, we must present that when asked. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Board President Johnson, members of the board, before I conclude the superintendent's report, I would like to publicly recognize Marlin High School senior Prayer Jones. He competed this weekend at the state track and field meet amongst several of his peers. Prayer did bring home a gold medal in shot put and a silver medal in discus. So I would definitely like to recognize Prayer for all of his hard work and accomplishments in representing Marlin ISD very well. The next thing that I would like to announce, on a very positive note, I received an email over the weekend that at the TASB School Board Conference this September in Dallas, Marlin ISD has been selected as one of 3 school districts statewide to speak at the small school seminar in front of the state. So it's a true testament once again to what is taking place here in our home district with our students, with our teachers, with our leaders, but also with our school board. So very excited to represent Marlin ISD at our school board conference this September in Dallas. So kudos once again. It is definitely another recognition for the hard work of our students in our community. Yes, we can. Yes, we have. Yes, we did. Because we are Marlin Bulldogs. And that concludes my superintendent's report.
We have a second? I second. We have a motion and a second. Any further discussion? If not, let's vote. All in favor of consent agenda, raise your hand. Motion passed 3-0. Is there anything else?
Number 11, sir.
May 2023 newly elected Board of Trustees, oath of office, District 1 and at large 2.
Board President Johnson, members of the board, right now I would ask for Ms. Lynette Strickland to come forward to administer the oath of office to our newly elected Board of Trustees.
Board, good afternoon, President Johnson and members of the board, Dr. Henson. We had 3 applicants that were unopposed, and we would like to swear these people in tonight. Billy Johnson, Bralene Terry, and Rosalind Renee Demerson. If I can get you to come up front so we can. You got it. I gotta pull a little bit of. Okay. Here you go. Really. Please raise your right hand and repeat after me. In the name and by the authority of the state of Texas. I state your name. Do solemnly swear that I will faithfully execute the duties of the office of Marlin Independent School District Board of Trustees of the state of Texas, and will to the best of my ability preserve, protect, and defend the Constitution and laws of the United States and of this state. So help me God.